Hey everybody, this is Captain Obvious, and welcome to my simple review of Night in the Woods. First, let's talk about artwork. Minimalistic and colorful. The game is set in a rural mining town in autumn and does a great job of capturing the spirit of a small working class community. The backgrounds of each scene is perfectly drawn to represent whatever location the character is in. For example, inside the stores you will see items for sale, registers to pay at, signage, and the colors are set in a perfect palette to match the mood of the environment. As time changes, so do the backgrounds, going from bright colors to a more darker shade. You can tell a lot of time was taken to create the town and locations within. It doesn't feel rushed or secondary to the story. It feels like it's just as important to the story as the characters and dialogue. Overall, 10 out of 10. Now let's talk controls. Simple and bare. There isn't much to the controls in this game since it's mostly a side-scrolling digital novel. You can move, jump, select dialogue options, select objects, use objects, and even in a few places move the character's hands. The movement and jumping are fairly basic enough. Nothing special or over the top about them. I do wish there were more areas in the game to interact with certain objects, but that's more of a gameplay concern than the controls. Overall, 8.5 out of 10. Now the gameplay. Slow and slower. While the game's narrative and storytelling are rich and thoughtful, the game takes a very long time to get the story told. You have a very specific routine you follow on a day-to-day basis. There are several key areas of the town, such as your house, the various stores your friends work at, and the church that you need to visit daily to progress the story along. However, each of these places are in separate areas of the town, and although they aren't very far apart from each other, there's some nagging loading screens that separate them, and repeating this each game day can be a bit frustrating. The 2D style of this game is very well suited for the story, and the locations are general locations you might actually frequent on a daily basis in a town like this. There's a few little mini games like a Guitar Hero style band practice and a knife fight with your friend, but the most interesting aspect of the game for me wasn't the actual game itself. It was a mini game mode within the computer screen that you can access from your bedroom called Demontower. The game had 10 levels and 10 bosses and honestly could have easily been a standalone mobile style game. Very enjoyable to break up the slow pace of the main game. Overall, 7.75 out of 10. On to the story. Memorable and diverse. This is the crowning jewel of the game in my opinion because it's where all of the elements are tied together seamlessly. So you play as this 20-year-old anthropomorphic cat named Mae, who leaves college abruptly and comes back to live in her town of Possum Springs. You reconnect Mae with a few of her friends and learn a lot about life and growing up along the way. It's actually a very heartfelt story and tackles a lot of real-life issues. So you're going to deal with fears of growing up, poverty, unemployment, working too much, depression, death, and so many more issues. I know that seems like a lot for a game to tackle, but the story is so well written and the characters are so intriguing and likable that you become engrossed in their lives and the lives of everyone in this little town. Each line of dialogue that you choose has such a bearing on the relationships and the story, and each player's experience will mean something completely different to them. It's honestly one of the most unique games I've ever come across. The ending was very satisfying to me because it closed all the loose ends that were hanging around. What a perfect way to end a game. Overall, 9.5 out of 10. Okay, normally this is where I talk about the key misses in the game, but seeing how this is a story-heavy game, the only real critiques I have are pacing and item usage. So I think the game could have been a little faster paced either through more character interaction such as random citizens and more friends, or by cutting down the loading time significantly. And in terms of item usage, it would have been fun to have things to collect in the town. Not as quests, but just for fun. I mean, you're going in and out of stores all the time and exploring dark and mysterious places around the town, so having collectibles to keep in your room or show off to friends would have been a fun addition and broken up the areas where you're just walking around not interacting with anybody. Overall, the game comes in at an 8.93 out of 10. It's an amazingly well-written story that is very slow-paced but very fun to explore from start to finish. That's all for me, guys. Until next time, Captain Obvious out. Peace.